Have you been abducted by aliens? I think a lot of people have been abducted by aliens. I really do. Much more than some people may realize. Some people may think that it's only a handful of people who've been abducted. But if the truth be known, it's probably millions of people on the earth have been abducted by aliens or other type of interdimensional beings. They may also have reports of, speaking to them face to face, channeling them. They may have experiences of seeing very strange looking beings, animalistic beings that we don't commonly see here. In fact, we don't see them. They don't belong in our world, but yet they're in our world. And what if they do belong in it and they've been in it for a long time and we just don't know it? So the question is, have you been abducted by aliens? Do you have memories of laying on a steel table? Do you have memories of a great big light coming towards you? And that's the last thing you remember while you're in your vehicle? Do you have memories of something happening to you while you're laying on that table? Do you have an alien implant in your body, or do you suspect that there's a certain part of my body that has a certain thing on it or certain marks, and I don't think it is naturally occurring, especially if in your dream state, like some people have said, they woke up with scratches on their bodies and things like that too, you all. There's been people reporting about men in black. They are real. All of this is real life experiences told by real life people who have experienced lots of these things. Let me come over here and turn this on. I already knew what I was going to do a video on today. I knew it in the afternoon. Implants, something like that. And I'm getting shadow banned. Wow, you all, they don't want this out. They don't want this out, but that's all right. That's just too bad. Let me show you all this. Look at this. Hello there, Mika. Yeah. Hello, Dakani, Black Man Listening. Yes, Jenny Shorter. You are Black Man Listening. That is great. Oh my! Oh, I love it. They was in black. That's right. That's right, you all. Yeah. This is weird. It really is. It's like, what is what we're talking about such taboo? Is it not to be heard? Okay, because it's happened to people all around the world. It really has. Did I split that screen, you all? There it is, like that. Right there. You trying to take it? I think they already got it. I really do. Good morning in the Liverpool. That's right, you all. Yeah, when you ought to see this on here. So we got it going on, you all. So I'm going to start off. I'm going to start off with this right here. I'm going to go to the article where that picture came from, and I'm going to put it in here so you can reference it because I've had my own experiences. I have. And it's something people didn't want to talk about years ago. Good evening. Oh, I didn't even make it through half of it and I got full, but that's all right. That's delicious. It was. And I thought, I have no way I'm going to eat all of that. I'll get sick. That's all right. Yes, it's all right, you all. So let's come over here to this. Right here, this story. It's not a story. It's actually an account of what happened. And check out this right here. Alien implants. This is from May the 20th of 2021. Brent Swanser. And by the way, let me come back to here. How is my sound? Because my earlier live streaming on here, whenever I'd go to the small me, the sound was like different. I went back in and made sure before I started this video that every scene had the right mic loaded in it and the right volume loaded in it so it would be synchronized. How is it, you all? Because I don't want that distraction again that the sound is messed up, because it was all messed up. That's thank you, Nairuka. That's right, you all. We can do it. We're going to read it, because look at this screen right here. That's some pretty alien implants and the strange abduction of Tim Cullen. That's what it is. The strange abduction of Tim Cullen. So they got alien abduction, alien implants, bizarre conspiracy, modern mysteries, mysterious people, UFO phenomenon, UFOs, unexplained phenomena, and unsolved mysteries. That's wonderful. Hello there, Adela. Adiel, I can't say your name right, but look at this. So, alien abduction. Alien phenomenon is already inherently strange. And here we have a case of people who claim to have been whisked away by non-human entities from space, or perhaps somewhere else, who have come back with bizarre tales of being examined, studied, and operated on. One of the weirder areas of the phenomenon is what we called implants, in which these entities have hidden within the abductee's body, hello there, Susan B. Honey, some sort of medical chip or device for reasons unknown. For reasons unknown. Do you all like to see the words on the screen on here so you can read along, so you know I'm reading it right? Because if you don't, I can just push it back to the aliens and the table. So yeah, Sean, yeah. There have been quite a few cases of people who have had hidden within their bodies a sort of metal chip or device for reasons unknown. There have been quite a few cases that have been featured a weird aspect, and one of the strangest of most high profile of alien implants comes from a humble construction worker who one day went on a drive only to be plagued by alien forces and discover an unexplained implant in his arm. Oh, it's all good. 1993. Yeah, you all, if you got something, you put it in here so we can go back and look at it, so it's good. It's all began with a premonition on April the 2nd of 1978. A cement contractor from Yuma, Colorado, by the name of Tim Cullen, woke from a terrifying nightmare, and in it, he had been involved in a terrible car accident along a lonely stretch of highway. And it had been so vivid and realistic that he could see every detail of the landscape around him as the accident played out. It was so real, in fact, that he was startled and not a little relieved to be back in his own bed. But the images from the bad dream still flickered through his mind. Indeed, memories of that nightmare would often intrude upon his waking hours like some ominous portent of doom, until a week later, when it would all turn out to have perhaps been a glimpse into the future. Hello there, Applebee, honey. Applebee. I got to Applebee. I meant Apple, and then Susan B. I did the apple in Apple's name and the B in Susan's name. That was kind of funny. And he sounded like the Applebee restaurant. Oh, my goodness gracious, you all. I love it. I really do love it. That's funny. It's so funny. So we've got this car going down a road at night. And yeah, that's always kind of creepy, you all. If you're driving at night and you're going down a road like that, and it's dark and there are no street lights, it does feel eerie. It really does, and I guess really eerie in that time of day when you got the time of year when the leaves are on the ground and stuff. Oh my goodness, that's right. So on April the 6th, let's look at this. On April the 6th, Cullen was driving with his friend Ken Ruberg along Highway 34 when he was hit by a sudden realization that this was the same stretch of road from his nightmare a week before. And it was so shocking in its clarity and sense of foreboding that he immediately thought about stopping the car and turning back. But it was too late. Even as he panicked at the scene from his nightmare, the car went out of control, rolled over 5 times before coming to a stop, leaving him unable to move and with a severely injured neck. Ruberg had somehow escaped injury and helped his friend out of the vehicle before waving down a passing vehicle and getting Cullen to a hospital, where it was found that he had fractured his neck. He was put under sedation and underwent surgery, during which he had another vivid dream, this time of a strange light in the sky hovering over his car. As he and his wife looked on in amazement, things would only get stranger from there. So it was like you got this car and a strange light hovering over his car, you all. Just like that, hovering over his car. And so it would only get stranger from there. On May the 30th of 1978, Cullen went to the hospital to have a checkup done on his neck, which was still wrapped in a brace, and the doctor's visit went smoothly and headed back home along a lonely stretch of Highway 59 through expanses of hayfields and grasslands as far as the eye could see. As they drove at around 11 p.m., he again was hit by a jolt of familiarity, a sort of deja vu, and he had lived through this moment before in the dream he had at the hospital under sedation. He was convinced that the dream, like that of the accident, was a premonition, and instinctively looked around for the light that he had seen. At first there was only darkness, and then an illuminated object bloomed up from behind a low hill, passed right in front of their car, and then once again dipped below the hill. Cullen would say what happened. And I'm sure that there are people in here. Of course, I talked to someone from Salem, I think like last month or so. They saw the light. It rose up. It went down. And even with the school children, was it over there in Africa somewhere or something like that, where it was like 65 school children saw the UFOs in the sky, and a few of them spoke to the occupants of it? Is that what it is? Is that what happened? That's what happens. So, yeah. So let's look at this, you all. So this is his account. It went out a ways alongside, and as I brought the car down to a stop, it came back toward us a bit. I backed the car up, and the UFO went to the west of us. It came in under the power and telephone lines and hovered over the pasture. It was about 100 foot long and 20 foot wide and about 10 foot high. It didn't make any noise. So let's see that. This UFO was 20 feet wide, 10 feet high. So a pickup truck is like 18 feet long. A full-size pickup, if you add like a hitch or something, you could get perhaps 20 feet. 10 feet high. Well, that would be probably like the top of some pickup trucks. It didn't make any noise. There were two diffused lights that shone at the back of the craft, and a light yellow and the other red. We couldn't see very good, and we sat there and stared at it for a while. After we looked at the two lights for a few minutes, I turned to my wife and I told her we might as well go on to town. And now when I think about it, when I turned and started driving, I did have an odd feeling, but it didn't really register with me. I remember coming back to Yuma, but not looking at a clock. I was kind of shocked by the whole thing, and I didn't really think of looking at a clock. Hello, you all. Welcome. So this guy and his wife is on this road, and they see this UFO. It's around 20 feet wide, 10 feet tall, and it's hovering and stuff. It goes down by behind the hill, then it comes back up, and then it's there. And the next thing he knows, he's telling his wife, well, we might as well go into town. I guess that's his missing time. Yeah, well, they don't give out notifications the majority of the time anymore. They really don't. So he would only later realize that he and his wife had experienced missing time that night, but didn't really give it much thought at the time. Things would get even odder when several years later, in 1980, Cullen and had another encounter with a similar craft with two diffused yellow lights. Two diffused yellow lights. Have you all saw a UFO with diffused yellow lights? Two of them. I think this is it's kind of strange. I'm having a hot flash. Had to take my socks off. So let's do this, you all. So at exactly the same spot on the Highway 59. And this would not even be the end of his UFO experiences. In 1994, he was driving with his wife and three daughters about 40 miles south of Yuma when they all witnessed a dimly lit craft with blue and white lights hover over the road right in front of them. So blue and white lights, I would think that would be like a common plane, shape-shifting UFO plane. So they stopped the car and they watched in for around 10 minutes before it headed off into the night to leave them dumbstruck. This is all very weird, but he would not put it all together in his head until 1998. So his first encounter starts in, let's see when it first started. 1978 is his first encounter on May the 30th. April 9th. April 9th. April the 2nd of 1978. He had a premonition. That's when it all started. Went to the hospital on May the 30th of 1978 to have a checkup. Let's see. So, yeah. So he later realized, he and his wife, okay. So in 1994, he was driving his wife in 40 miles. So now it's 1994. It was 1978 when it all started, and now it's 1994. They're watching this UFO with a blue and white light. And it's weird. So he didn't put it all together until 1998 when an accident at work sent him further down the rabbit hole. On this day, he was at work and he smashed his thumb with a hammer. Thinking his finger would be broken, or the very least dislocated, he went to see a Dr. Mark Hubner at the Yuma Clinic and get an x-ray done. After the procedure, Hubner was a bit puzzled because it seemed as if there was a piece of metal in Cullen's arm. It should not have been there, and as Cullen had never had any sort of surgery to that effect on his arm, making him just as confused as the doctor. That was when it all hit him at once. The accident, the lost time, the subsequent UFO sightings, it all came crashing back to him. and he was convinced that it all had something to do with that thing in his arm. And he would say this: I knew what had happened. I knew it was an alien implant from the very first encounter in 1978. There was lost time that night. I have to assume that I was abducted. In a short span of time in 1978, it was revealed to me that we are not the only intelligent life in the universe. And it was also proven to me that God is with us always, without a doubt. The events that have happened to me over the past 27 years have had an enormous effect on my life and what I believe. So this is like a little artist rendition of him laying on that table, steel table. Look at that probe going straight down to his head, you all. You see that? That's what it looks like. Up here, it looks like something's getting ready to go straight down into his head. So let's see this. Colin could not remember any actual abduction, assuming that his memory had been wiped, but he was sure of it. Desperate for answer, Colin reached out to the UFO community and managed to get in touch with a Dr. Roger K. Lear in California, who had made a name for himself as being a sort of expert in the alleged alien implants and had removed them from several patients. After a year of correspondence, Colin made a trip to a medical facility in Thousand Oaks, California, in order to undergo surgery to remove the strange object in his arm, and it would be the 9th such procedure that Lear would carry out. The surgical team, which included Lear and a Dr. John D. Matriciano, managed to remove a tiny metal shard measuring about 7 millimeters long and 4 millimeters wide, with an array of long proceptors on one end, and that were reportedly attached to the nerve endings. So they removed a tiny metal shard measuring about 7 millimeters long, 4 millimeters wide, with an array of long proceptors on one end that reportedly attached to nerve endings in his body. The whole of it was apparently covered in a reddish-brown membrane, thought to be for the purpose of preventing rejection by the body. According to Dr. Lear, the implant was due to be analyzed, saying of it, "The implant has turned out to be, it has turned over to digital instruments here in California for complete analysis, and it seems the more we investigate and learn, the more questions we have. It seems that digital instruments has technology to measure and analyze matter, 10 atoms at a time. We are researching both the biological and the metallurgical aspects of Tim's implant again. The more knowledge gained, the more we need to know." So we have this little alien character, you all. Are you with me over here? I hope you're still with me. I've not heard this story before, but I know I want to hear it. I want to hear how it ends because I was thinking about implants today. Alien implants in people's bodies. It is unclear what results this analysis uncovered, and in the meantime, Colin has become a bit of champion for other alleged abductees who have had implants put into them. He is remarkable in being so outspoken on the matter, and that he has allowed his real name to be used where so many others like him have preferred to remain anonymous. He has said of his drive to get his story out there and raise awareness of alien implants. This is what he said about alien implants, you all. And I know a lot of you have been abducted. You have memories. You have missing time that you cannot explain. You may have marks on your body. You have memories that will not go away of actual events that occur to you. have been done to you, and it's all real. It's all real. This is what he had to say. This could be a huge medical breakthrough for doctors who want to use biological metal or implants or other materials. Gee, you hear that bird? Uh, okay. That bird came right to that window when I said that. Wow. Oh my goodness, that just made my heart go, yeah. So he feels that the American public must learn of this situation. I feel that the membrane needs to be analyzed and developed in the public domain as quickly as possible. It is a given that it can hide metal in deep tissue. They did it in my body for 20 years. We owe it to ourselves and to our children, etc., to do what properly and morally needs to be done. Several prestigious labs have chemically broken down the makeup of the membrane. With the proper research funded by the large pharmaceutical companies, the human body rejection of such implants could save many lives in the future. I'm coming forward because someone has to put a face to the alien stories and cause more people to come forward. The more people we can find with implants, the more evidence we're going to have. We can study things a lot more and get things done and get rid of the stigma around it. The truth needs to come out. Oh, wow, you woke up with one hovering over your bed. As to why the aliens seem to have been following him around and shown an interest to begin with, Cullen has mused that they were interested in his psychic ability, which is what had originally allowed him to foresee the initial crash. According to him, the aliens are curious as to what produces these abilities in humans, and so the implant was put there to monitor this latent ability within him. In the meantime, it's not clear what has become of Cullen's implant since then, or what the results of the analysis were, and we are left to wonder just what is going on here. What happened to him out on that lonely road? Were there inscrutable forces studying him for reasons that we may never understand? What happened to that implant? And why was it put there? Is there anything to this at all? It is unsure what the answers may be, but the case of Tim Cullen has become one of the more standout tales of the greater phenomenon that is the mystery of the alien implants. So this is the writer, the author. He is an author and crypto expert living in Japan. Biology, nature, cryptozoology, still remains with he's written articles and Coast to Coast and Daily Grail. So that's really interesting, you all. It really is interesting. He had an alien implant in his hand or in his arm. They'd been tracking him. Let's look at this. The Men in Black. How did it start, you all? So we can look at this. This is still here. It's the Mysterious Universe. So we can put the link to the Men in Black also in here because it's the same place. I'm reading from a certain website, so I will put this in here for you all to reference also. Let's see this. The origins of the Men in Black. How did it start? It all began in a dark, eerie attic in a 3-story old house at 784 Broad Street, Bridgeport, Connecticut. And it revolved around a young man, an undeniable eccentric with a fascination for the realms of monsters, the supernatural, alchemy, the paranormal, and the occult, and with a significant degree of obsessive-compulsive disorder, too. Without him, they may never have left terrible marks, or perhaps more correctly, the ugly scars, on a society they most assuredly have. He was Albert Bender. Was there a movie about the Benders? This sounds like something, a movie or a series called The Benders. Um, that's what I'm thinking. Yeah, The Benders. So let's go back to here. So they were the men in black. And in a strange, almost symbiotic fashion, they feed on one another. The early years of Bender's life were nothing out of the ordinary. In fact, the quite opposite was the case. He was born in 1921. Bender lived in Duryea, Pennsylvania, where he worked in a factory. In the aftermath of a terrible attack on Pearl Harbor, Hawaii, in 1941, Bender joined the United States Army Air Corps, stationed at Fort George G. Meade, Maryland. He served from June of 1942 to October of 1943 as a dental technician. He was given an honorable discharge. It was then that Bender, his mother Ellen, and his stepfather Michael Ardolino, headed off to Bridgeport. And that's when things started to get weird, very weird, too weird. It was followed by Bender's decision to convert the attic room in which he had lived into what can accurately be termed, oh my gosh, as a chamber of horrors. Oh my gosh, you all. I don't know if I want to read that. I don't. I really don't. No, I'm not one into that right there, but you can see it there. Men in Black, Eerie Adventures, and he was the meek and weak Bender. Oh wow, you all. Wait a minute. He opened. Oh, let's listen to this. He something kept him awake at night, staring at the ceiling, and not all in a positive way. Things got worse. He started to have stomach problems, a ulcerated colitis. From now, he described it, he developed an irrational suspicion that he had cancer. Checked with the doctor, showed he did not. Pummeling migraines were next on the grim list. If that was enough, he had his chamber of horrors were soon overwhelmed by a sickening smell of sulfur, an odor traditionally connected to demonology and the occult. In no time at all, Bender had gone from an all-time high with his UFO journal and his new friends to an absolute crushing low, dictated by what sounded like supernatural monsters. In the summer of 1953, Bender was visited by a trio of men in black. Depending on whose version of the story you believe, Bender was either visited by 3 agents of the United States government, maybe from the FBI, or terrorized by non-human entities who manifested in his attic late night and via telepathically told him in such succinct, I can't even say the word, terms, stop publishing about the UFOs. Bender, never wanting confrontation, did exactly what he was told to do. This was definitely not what Bender was expecting. He had gone from being a prominent UFO researcher to someone who now seemed to be under relenting psychic attack by something clearly non-human. See what I mean about the monsters? The closure of the IFSB and the shutting down of Space Review amounted to a collective blow to Bender. It amounted to a double whammy of the very worst type. Bender's closest friends in the UFO research field at the time, Gray Barker, Max Kringle, Augie Roberts, and Dominique Lucci, I can't say it, were all puzzled and concerned about Bender, chiefly because he was deliberately keeping them in the dark about what was going on in his life and in relation to the Men in Black encounters. Bender said in a somewhat guarded and careful fashion, "The mystery of the flying saucers is no longer a mystery. The source is already known, but any information about this is being withheld by orders from a higher source. We would like to print the full story in Space Review, but because of the nature of the information, we have been advised in the negative. We advise those engaged in saucer work to be very cautious." In other words, for Albert, this was a case of adios amigo, Evidently and wisely, Bender chose to take his very own advice. He walked away from the UFOs and began corresponding with an Englishwoman named Betty Rose, who had subscribed to Bender's journal. They actually corresponded for a number of years, finally married, settled down in the United States, run a hotel in California. But not before Betty came to visit Bender in New York, a period that totally changed his life. It was a time for Betty to fly back to the UK, and as she walked up the stairs to enter the plane, she gave one last wave, then moved quickly through the doorway, and a very strange feeling hit my stomach. I stood there waving, and I could not move from the spot until I saw the plane taxi to the runway and take off. As this plane vanished in the distance, I realized I had left something important undone, an unasked question which she now had no opportunity to hear from my lips. And so it was that I found out for the first time that I was in love. Marriage in 1954 to Betty, emotional stability, and a complete end to ill health were thankfully the orders of the day. Despite his worries about his health, he lived to the ripe old age of 94. The men in black were gone. UFOs finally behind Bender for a while, as will soon become clear. And as time progressed, Bender set up another project, a very different one. He established Max Steiner Music Society, and he wrote music. So I guess they told him, you do not talk about the UFOs, you all. That's what it sounds like. You're not to talk about them. You're not to mention them. You're not to do anything about it. Doesn't that sound like that? Yeah. Wow. So there's a reason why certain people are only allowed to talk about UFOs, and it's under I don't know, the big leaguers, the big channels and stuff like this. They can only talk about what they're told they can talk about, okay? And they make sure that that's all that people hear first and foremost. That's what it is. They don't want other people to talk about the real world experiences that people are experiencing, what they've seen, what they've been like being abducted, what's happening to their bodies. No. You've got to have a narrative. And I think all the big leaguers, when I say big leaders, I mean like the Gaia channels, the other great big channels that can talk about UFO stuff. They have like millions of followers or hundreds of thousands of followers and stuff. They have to follow the narrative. If they don't, they're probably going to get shut down. But see, they make sure they control it. And if you're smaller, they can't really control what comes out of your mouth, because they never know what's going to come out of your mouth. They don't. And it's like my mouth. They don't know what's going to come out of my mouth. I don't even know what's going to come out of my mouth. Yeah, you all, there's something they don't want people to know. They don't care if you talk about UFOs, but you can't get too deep into them. Okay, you cannot really dig deep and say what's really going on. That's what I think. You can't do it. But I'm gonna share whatever I'm given. I am. Until my time's up. So it sounds like this person engaged in magic. The magic and a yes or no technique. No success in table tipping, and surprising success with a yes or no technique using the Bible. History of psychic phenomenon in his family. This guy was really, he sounded like he reached into the darkness. That's scary. No, when you start reaching too far in there, you're asking for trouble because you don't know what's going to come out of that darkness. You don't what types of spirits or anything like that, and they're going to come after you. And I'm not just saying that; they will come after you. The spirits will, the darkness will. Don't do it. That's why you got to stay grounded. Stay in your lane. Yeah, stay in your lane, you all. That is wild. This whole entire thing right here, totally wild. Yeah, the men in black. Look at this. NASA fears Martians. Oh, you all. Gina, honey, you reached your monthly free article limit. You had to pay $5 a month. Um, oh, starts at $5 a month. If I had to pay for something like that, no, I'm not. It should be free to read. Okay, it should be. I'm not going to pay for that. No, I'm not. Thank you for the 2 articles that we read, though. It was nice. I guess 2 is better than none. Yeah, you are not going to come on here and pay just so I can have access to an article that was written. No, I'm not. Yeah, at all. Mm. So let me come on here, you all. We was talking about wow, this got all kinds of stuff, portals and things like that. Let me come over here, come over to where you're all at. Um, whew. So how's that comment section coming along? It looks like it's coming along pretty good. It does. Let me take this phone off of here. Let me look. Yeah. Stay far away from medical stuff. Susan, honey, I'm way off on it. I don't even know what she was agreeing to. Yeah. All I know is there's good and bad in this world. There's good entities and bad entities. There's people with good intentions and people with bad intentions. And there are people with good intentions who contact people who pretend to have good intentions too, but they have bad intentions in the end, and they trick them. They do. They set a trap for them. So you all got to be very careful. Yeah. So yesterday in the live stream, someone said that starting today, there will be 10 days of, what's it, disclosure coming out. Have you all heard any thing coming out? Because when people say things, I think, well, I'm going to see what they're going to say. Yeah. Well, the disclosure, I guess, is coming from everyday people telling others, or and sharing their experiences. That's on a personal level, a ground level, right there, and that doesn't have to have specific days, because I think that's been happening throughout time. It has, all of it. Yeah, I am gonna go. I'm getting tired. I really am kind of tired, but that's okay. I wanted to read that, and I didn't really know all about that. I didn't really know that they don't really like you digging too deep into UFO stuff and whatever else people dig into that gets them in big time trouble. Yeah, that you definitely want to be very careful. It's not something that you need to take lightly. You go into head first. Just dive deep into that UFO community. You don't want to do that, you all. No, you don't. Yeah, I think there's they got some rules you got to play by. That's what I think, and I'm really not that big of a player. I'm really not. I'm more of a loner. If you haven't noticed, I really am a loner. I have a very, 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 very small circle of friends that I speak to. So that's okay, you all. That's all right. There's lots of people who they're not in the big league. They're not. They separate themselves, and it's okay. Just to get the message out. It's all right, you all. So thank you for your comments, and thank you, moderators, for being on here. And with that being said, hello, wherever you are in any part of the world. Hello. From my heart to yours. Love you. Have a wonderful rest of your evening, and thank you so much for listening tonight, you all. Good night.